Another thing that was so interesting to me here, even though America is totally irrelevant in this story, they found a way to insert it by having an MIT student. Let me show you the MIT student again. This girl right here. So even though America is irrelevant in this story, they still found a way to insert America by having an MIT student involved. Someone. So basically you're telling me that this one MIT student is an excuse to include America in this story. And as Wakanda is considered a superpower so because Wakanda is a superpower, it's quite interesting that they chose this one girl was the reason why America is watching you. America is watching you because of this one girl in this story. The story mirrors reality and white supremacist ideology in that American minorities who are represented in this story, blacks and Mexicans, always have to exist through the affirmation of white people and worry about what white people think about their actions. So this whole story, as much as they love to pretend and show like Wakanda is so powerful, we don't need America, blah, 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 you guys have to answer to us. They kept pushing this narrative, but yet America was monitoring them throughout the story. Even the Mexicans in the story, the Mayan Empire and people, they were saying, oh, don't tell the Americans about us. Don't tell the Americans about us. You'll get in trouble if you tell the Americans about us. You're still existing through the lens of, not being how white people perceive you, white people's affirmations. Oh, don't tell Massa that I stole the fruit. Don't tell Massa it's the same thing. Even though they're trying to position it as that, they're still showing that these marginalized groups exist by seeking the affirmation of white America. So even though the story tried to play it off like Wakanda is so powerful and don't answer to America, the story still found ways to include American surveillance of minorities. This represents that this story was written by American minorities who are used to the conditioning and the prisons of slavery. Even though they are given a fictional world of empowered blacks, they still find a way to have white society police them. Oh, that's such a line here. Let me read that again. This represents that this story was written by an American minority who are used to the conditioning and prisons of slavery. Even when they are given a fictional world of empowered blacks, they still find a way to have white society police them. This is how deeply rooted the loss of identity that minorities in America have. This is how they have battered them to a pulp, to submission, because you're constantly thinking about your master, even when you're given the opportunity to move away from them. And if this was a true African story, America would not even have been included in the conversation. Because if we're talking about Wakanda, why show America? Yes, I get it. It's an American-funded film. America has an agenda, but this goes to my point. This is why my point is that black people must tell black stories. If we want true cultural identity, if we want a grounding in our cultural identity, we want black empowerment, we must tell our stories. We can't wait for Marvel. We can't wait for whatever, Disney, to tell our stories. We have to do it ourselves. And we have to do it in an epic way. And you can't say that we can't do it because we can't. We just don't. We haven't done it yet. And the fact that the biggest African story, the best-selling African story is made by a white man, that should be problematic to you. That should be a problem to you. that should be a problem to you. So for marketing reasons, it's clear they also chose the American storyline for the story to appeal to an American audience. It's an American story ultimately. So of course it makes sense they're going to put America in it. America is obsessed with America. Ooh. You know, if this was a UK story, sure, they might not have included the UK. But America is obsessed with promoting American patriotism for all the reasons I mentioned before. Just to recap that, it's a melting pot of different cultures. It was created, it's a new country, you know, just a few hundred years old, very new country. And so pushing this American agenda builds up that pride, which would have been non-existent in the start of America. So they have to keep that going. It makes sense, right? So it makes sense, of course. It's kind of like when people complain about how like Kanye West wasn't canceled when he said stuff about black people, but when he said stuff about Jews, he got canceled. Well, if you have Jews that are very powerful, and I'm a Jewish person and I own a business, I happen to run some big studio where I'm not going to hire Kanye West because Jewish people are in positions of power to do that. And so in the same breath, you can't expect somebody else to tell your story. If black people want us to tell our stories the way that will actually really serve us, we have to tell our stories ourselves. That's the point here. So even though the story tried to portray Wakandans as powerful, they don't need to answer, and like they don't need to answer to Americans. The whole if you tell the Americans about us narrative, that whole narrative just made America seem more powerful ultimately. So that was a long video, but I think you guys catch the drift. Point being here is that yes, this movie is a revenge movie, right? It was a revenge movie for the marginalized, but it did no service. It did a disservice to blackness. But if anything, it shone a light to me on what we need to focus on as black people, black media, how we need to push our stories, how we need to support ourselves, how we need to tell black stories. It shone a light on all these things for me. You know, it was great on the surface level. It was a great movie. I have no problem with it. Great movie on the surface. Nothing wrong with it. But when you look a little deeper, there are issues, there are fundamental issues with this story. And so I'm afraid that black people will watch this movie and think, you know, I saw people in the movie theaters all dressed up wearing their Africa outfits, and I saw all of that, and it's all great. But it really just says that we need to get to work. We need to focus on telling our stories, our histories, educating ourselves. We need to get to work. And if we don't get to work, well, we're going to continue to get these diluted, sanitized versions of our culture and our history. Black stories told through the lens of white supremacy that never really truly serve us. And so, you know, these outfits that you wear for the Wakanda Forever, what do they really mean? And how do we focus in the next, what I would have liked to see from Wakanda Forever was, like I said, to pioneer the next movement, the next wave, open up the next new door. But if we open up the next new door, I think there's a fear by white supremacist media that we might get too powerful. We might overpower them, and that's probably what's going to happen. But it's up to us to take ourselves to the next level. It's not their job to do it anyway. It's not their job to do it. It's our job to do it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Wakanda Forever. I still advise you go watch the movie. It's an interesting movie. Definitely great storytelling. It's Marvel, all that cheesy stuff. It's a great, entertaining movie. On my other channel, Brand Video Pro, I'm going to break down some of the other aspects of the movie. But on here, I just wanted to let you guys know my thoughts on how this movie was a disservice to black people. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm Kenim. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, all the above. Guys, please give me like at least, let me get like 100 likes at least on this video. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Kenim, bye. Peace.